Hey guys, Artosis here, bringing you some more of the GAN Race Survivor series. Right now, we have the very last non-Zerg player. We have ZhanHun, who is the best Protoss in all of China. A very, very strong Protoss. Generally tends to be pretty aggressive, but has great macro as well. But known as kind of a cheesy Protoss. And of course, his opponent up here is Sacsri, who's been a killer so far. Of course, him and Saber have taken down everyone else so far in this survival series. And ZhanHun is the last line of defense for Protoss, for China, for non-Zerg, basically, right? So if ZhanHun is able to beat Sacsri, he still has to beat 815 as well. So it could be quite the tough road, right? Like Sacsri already, and you know, I mentioned right when we started this, Sacsri, if you look at this lineup of players, he is the most accomplished StarCraft pro that we have in this lineup, right? Like he's done more than 815, way more than Saber, more than Mihu, more than ZhanHun, right? And those are kind of the big guys. So definitely a tough one against Sacsri. And then, I mean, if you have to go up against 815, that guy is the cheesiest pro gamer. You know, I talk about Zealot being the most aggressive pro gamer, but 815 literally does like more 4 pools per capita than a small country. So yeah, it's a long road, but we'll see what ZhanHun can do. Guys, I do hope that you are enjoying this Survival Series tournament. I always like this format a lot. It's one of my favorites. You know, whenever I see anything like this online, I do end up, I tend to end up watching it. I like to host them myself and everything as well. It's just, it's a lot of fun. And I do like very much learning more about the Chinese scene. You know, for instance, here we see that the Zerg scene, the Korean Zerg team is dominating in this particular match, but don't forget, in week 1, the Korean Terran team did get swept pretty hard. So, you know, I think the Chinese players can put up a good fight. It certainly is, in terms of skill, it's the deepest region outside of Korea. It's like, it's much deeper in skill than like Europe or North America, although both those scenes, I think, are doing pretty well right now. It's actually a very exciting time, in my opinion. We have a lot of strong players that are taking the game really seriously right now from all over the world, which isn't always the case, or certainly doesn't feel like it's always the case. Ooh, ZhanHun with the dodges. But yeah, he is doing a gateway expand, by the way. He'll be fine against these Lings coming in. He's just going to keep those Zealots at home, most likely. I don't think he's going to go crazy like we saw App do earlier in this tournament. And just going to pop this through. You know, we are on Nemesis, by the way. You guys have seen a lot of casts here, so I won't bother you too much with the explanation of these. We'll talk about it more once they start getting killed off and whatnot. But yeah, anyways, you know what I wanted to mention there before we saw a little bit of action kicking up in this game. It's really exciting when, in my opinion, when players outside of Korea are taking the game really seriously. Because I think it has always been one of the best storylines in StarCraft is players that are not Korean trying to take down the Korean players, right? That's always been like a very exciting, fun storyline. That's a lot of what, you know, ends up, like, if you remember when StarCraft 2 came out, right? Like Hydra and Stefano and, you know, Jinro and Huck and, you know, all these great guys that were battling against the Koreans toe-to-toe, and how exciting that was. And of course, we don't get that as much in StarCraft 1. The skill differentiation is a lot larger. So the Korean pros are pretty scary, but yeah, it's great to see. And it makes me excited how many, like, very, very high-quality matches we're getting between the Chinese pros and the Korean pros, even though sometimes they're one-sided. Occasionally, you do have those upsets, and you can see that the level is really high. Like, look, right now, for instance, I think ZhanHun is doing just an excellent job in this early game, right? He's blocking these Zerglings from doing anything. He's continuing up his tech route very quickly as these Zealots out here, and oh my god, a hidden cannon rush on the third base. This is actually really smart. This is going to have to get canceled, I think. Right? When this finishes, I believe what we'll see is ZhanHun start another cannon immediately up here. Because... excuse me. Yeah, there it is. Because if it's just one cannon, they definitely can outpace it with, like, making Sunkens. But 2 cannons, I don't think that there's literally any way on Earth. So this is going to end up dying. Don't forget, the eggs have 10 armor, so it's very hard for Zerglings to bust through here and save this. So this was a very sneaky, very excellent move from ZhanHun. I actually didn't notice him doing it because I was watching the Lings, but remember, he escaped the probe up here, then he brought it down, popped it out, came over here, popped in, and now is cannon rushing this hatch. So this is actually, I would call this a pretty big advantage for ZhanHun in this early game against Sacsri. This has got to be a frustrating one for Sacsri. He's going to go ahead and utilize one of the faraway larvae to make an overlord, and he'll just pop this over the side. It's good to at least get to utilize some of the larvae here. And yeah, it's, I mean, he's just, he'll deal some damage to it, but it's not going to die or anything. So that's very, very good. Spire coming up and a new third base going down here for Sacsri. But this is pretty much a two hatch layer, but not on 2-hatch layer timing. Or a 2-hatch spire, but not on 2-hatch spire timing, right? If you're planning on going for 2-hatchery spire, it's super, super fast, but this is more of a 3-hatchery time because he did make the 3rd hatch. So yeah, without any doubt, right now, there is an advantage for ZhanHun, who, by the way, oh, I was like, is he going to go up here and try to cannon rush again? That would be just madness if we saw something like that. But Sacsri is keen on it now. He knows what's going on. He was getting ready to get rid of this egg. He sees the probe come in, and he actually, one of the nice things is it's a damage probe, so he can just click on it and be like, yeah, that's 9 health. That's exactly the same probe, right? So very easy to tell, and he knows that that's the only probe on the map, and that is going to go down. Of course, the Zerglings preventing any of their probes from coming out. But look at what ZhanHun has here. This is a lot of Zealots. This is a little bit scary. In the meantime, Sacsri is getting that +1 flyer carapace, so we are definitely going to see some Mutalisks. He is making Scourge right now, throwing down a macro hatchery in here. Well, what he can do is end up killing the eggs. Like, he could kill the eggs in both locations. But yeah, and that'll allow rallies to come out. Because if these assimilators get killed off, then having a 2nd hatchery in here is actually a huge problem, because you won't be able to macro Hydras out of it. And in fact, another hatchery. Are you kidding me? I've actually never seen anyone quite play this map like this. Normally, I see the macro hatches out here because it's easier to get the units to where you want them. But yeah, I'm sure he'll clear the eggs. He's going to have to maintain map control, though, because if he does not, then it's going to be hard to keep this base going. Because this is not a good SimCity, by the way. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. Hydras fit out with 1 assimilator dead. Just throwing that out there. But by him killing this, and Dragoons won't fit through, and Archons won't fit through. Okay, so that's why you see that. But by killing this, it makes it quicker that if we get some map control from ZhanHun, like, honestly, if his Zealots turn around and go over here, and he kills that, that means you have to rally all the units out through there. So it's like this very long rally to get units, and you can only rally them probably to about here. Because at some point, if you, like, let's say you rally to here, they'll probably just go back and forth right here, like get completely glitched out. So you have to rally them so that the pathing thinks that this is the shortest route, because it will try to path through there. Okay, it's wild the way that StarCraft 1 pathing works, but you have to deal with it. Okay, so anyway, the Zealots trying to run up here. Their legs do finish up, +1 not quite done. And there are 2 Sunkens, a good wall, and Mutas popping out. So he is going to pull those back, split them up a little bit. It does take Mutas a long time to kill Zealots, so you know, he's going to take like a little bit of hull damage. It doesn't matter all that much, and it does give him some advanced notice of what's going on. In the meantime, Corsairs continuing to be produced. Don't forget, he does have these 2 cannons over here, so this could be a location, by the way. If his Corsairs are out and he's being chased, he may be able to run to this area to clear Scourge off of his Corsairs. I just want to throw that out. It's like, there's a real possibility we could see a move like that, and that's kind of cool that something like that could be utilized further into the game, because it's not something you really think about very often, because it doesn't come up very often. All right, another cannon in that main base. Corsairs continuing to be pumped. That +1 was a little bit slow this game, but that's all right. Continuing to add a few gates as well. So we're going to be going up to 5 gates here for ZhanHun. Now he is clearing out some of these eggs. I wonder if he's going to clear these eggs. Like, is he just going to set a rally like here or something? It seems that's going to be the way. Scourge and Muta flying around. He is making a lot more Mutas, and he's actually getting the Lurker upgrade right now, which is interesting. I'm trying to think, and normally you don't see Mutas into Lurker. Normally you see Mutas into like a 6 hatchery Hydralisk play into Lurkers, right? But he's getting the Lurker upgrade ahead of Hydralisk upgrade. So it seems like this is going to be a very turtled game, right? Heavy Mutalisks, yeah, in fact, he just started the Queen's Nest. That tells us basically the rest of this story, right? So he's going triple evolution chamber, and that normally when you do that, that means you're going hive, and he is going to shut this down. This is what I was talking about. This is going to make rallies for Sacsri a lot harder if he does that. Oh! And they both agree that they want this gone. That's funny. Okay, so that does get taken out. So this base is now safe from frontal entrance by ZhanHun, but the rallies could get a little bit more messy. Anyways, I want to go back and talk about what we were talking about here. Right, if you see triple evolution chamber, it means they're going hive. Because, like, it makes sense to go 2 evolution chambers if you're going, like, Hydra Lurker. But when you go 3, that means you're getting melee upgrades, which means you want the Adrenal upgrade for Zerglings, because it's one of the best upgrades in the game. So anyways, he is adding another Queen's Nest, so it seems like he forgot that he had made that during that little moment. Flying across the map, decent amount of Mute is a huge amount of Scourge. A huge amount of Scourge here. So he dives on the cannons. There's only 2 here. You have to be very careful with this defense. The Corsair count is not as high as you may like to see. He's got 7 here. I think I just heard one die as well. Maybe it just popped out of that Stargate. Has to fly back. You have to be very careful here. And, okay, he takes out the Scourge, only loses 1. Not too bad, not too bad, but more Scourge coming in. Oh, man, he's down to 5. They do have some hull damage as well. More Scourge coming up. Muta's going after this Nexus. This is very painful right now, and his SimCity does not allow an Archon in here. This is full. This is like the Archon has to come down this way and through there. That's the only place it will fit, which is screwing up everything for ZhanHun here. Okay, he's going to click it manually into this area. And I think he'll save this. Look, this Archon's trying to get the Scourge here. Woo! Man, some fancy fly in there from Sacsri. Will get away with those Scourge. And, well, I mean, he's still got a lot of mutas. They didn't take that much damage. A lot of the Corsairs went down. ZhanHun has taken an additional base, so that will be a 3rd gas storm, which is nice. It looks like he wants to kill off the eggs. I'm not so sure what that... I mean, obviously it means that he can get his units in and out of here. So he's thinking that there could be an attack in here where either maybe it's Mutalisks coming in, and he needs to get, like, Dragoons, High Templars, and Archons in there, or he thinks there could be drops that he's going to have to answer. So either way, you know, if he loses map control, that's going to be something where Zerg can counterattack through there pretty quickly. So, we see Sacsri getting into heavy Zergling Lurker. This is one of the... Oh, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Sorry, but it doesn't look too impactful. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to see from ZhanHun to try to counter this. He's super, super, super Zealot heavy right now, which is not good against Zergling Lurker. Okay, that's one thing to mention. Like, this is an interesting little tidbit about why you always see +1. Is because if the Zealots did not 2-shot Zerglings with that quick +1 attack, then you'd not really see Hydralisks. You'd see, like, pure Zergling defenses that went into Lurker, because Zergling Lurker is such a powerful combo for Zerg, but you can't really go for it in the early game. Like, you need the Hydralisks, because Zealots will just crush everything otherwise. But once you get later into the game, a lot of times you will see a heavier Lurker contingent to make sure that Zealots can't really do anything, that, you know, you need observers, it's really hard to shoot down, and then Zerglings with the Adrenal upgrade, and, like, look, +1 attack is +20% damage, and then it's like, what does Adrenal do? +20% attack speed? Something like that. So Zergling upgrades are some of the best in the game. They're, like, on par with Siege Tank attack upgrades for Siege mode, right? Like, it's insane how good their upgrades are. It might actually be the best upgrades in the game overall. But Zerglings get incredibly strong in the late game. They actually start beating everything, pretty much. Anyways, the egg was worked on, and then he decides, you know what? I don't want to open that. Okay, I like this choice from ZhanHun a lot more. ZhanHun right now roaming the map. We have a Ling Lurker defense here at that 4th base, the other main. Obviously, a lot of Zerglings in here as he gets this base going. Might need to see some shuttles. It looks like we have drops for, for Overlords on the way as well, which is, you know, something we were talking about before is possibly a way that this base can get attacked. Now look at this. Oh, this is so smart. Look at him get up here with these cracklings immediately, and look how quickly they'll take down these assimilators. No chance for him to get through. He has nothing here range to really stop this from occurring. So that's shut off. And again, not even Zerglings will fit through here when you kill the 2 eggs. I am fairly certain Ghosts fit through, if I recall from a long time ago when this got tested. Ghosts are actually slightly skinnier than Zerglings, just to throw that out there. But I haven't tested that in years and years and years, since the first time they made maps that looked like this. So I think that's the case. I think I'm remembering correctly. Not that ghosts are ever used in any matchup. So, anyways, it looks like ZhanHun trying to set up this bottom right. Dude, we're getting into a pretty big macro. Honestly, there haven't been that many engagements. Like, there's been light ones of Zerglings against stuff, and obviously that one big Mutalisk attack that ZhanHun was able to push off. But that's it. That's it. And I think part of that is the cannon rush that he did against Sacsri here really put Sacsri into a defensive position, and then Sacsri decided, you know what, we're going Ling Lurker. And that's a pretty defensive composition as well, right? The Zerglings can run around and do harassment because they're so cheap, and they can kill buildings so quickly. Like, look how well they actually do here. The fact that they're killing anything is kind of insane. But yeah, that's something that's hard to attack into, especially with these heavy Zealot compositions. Honestly, this is a game that's going to have to go into a lot of Reavers. Archons, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing Dark Archons in there, a lot of High Templars. It's just going to have to look like that. And as far as Zerg goes, you can see, like, for instance, here, he's loading up a lot of Overlords with Zerglings mostly as a Defiler in there. He has some Lurkers in there. This is incredibly powerful. This is able to take out a main base super, super fast. And is he going to actually figure out what's going on here? Okay, the probe is going to kind of see it. And he is sending his army in, but the, you know, the Defiler alone can screw this up a lot, right? Like, there's a lot of Dragoons in here. Now, he's going to drop on the Nexus, so the Nexus should end up dying. The Photon Cannons will do a little tiny bit. Oh my god, they actually don't even do a little tiny bit. The Zerglings kill them so quickly. And it looks like there's enough Zealots that he should be able to clear this. Plague goes down on the buildings. I haven't seen that since the 90s. Kind of crazy to see. You know, that was how a lot of people thought the Plague should be used, is like you drop it off in someone's base and plague their buildings. I remember having that done to me back in literally like 99, 2000, like right around there. Anyways, he doesn't actually end up killing the Nexus. Obviously, it gets down very low from the Plague. And now we have ZhanHun trying to attack into the top left. Comes up, Psystorms a little bit. Well, very hard to break through, right? Dark Swarm making it so that the Dragoons don't do anything. Archons as well. Don't forget, they actually have a ranged attack. It has splash damage on it, so it can do some damage under a Dark Swarm, but it's not full damage. This is not a melee unit. So really only the Zealots are going to deal full damage. Reavers as well, of course. Looks like we have some bad building placement here. So what's happening that you see is some of them, like one group, or at least one or two of them there, was like trying to walk out, but it would like pad this way, and then the other group would pad that way, which would block them. And so you saw that little dancer. You gotta fix that. You might want to kill a building, honestly. Like, yeah. Pathing, man. Fun stuff. Now, but honestly, you know, some people talk about Brood War pathing, and they're like, well, this is why StarCraft 2 is better. The pathing is actually an important aspect of the game. It can be very frustrating to play with, but you eventually get good at it, and it becomes like, wow, this guy knows how to move his army around. Another thing you can differentiate yourself from others with. So, right now, let's try to take a bigger view of the game. So ZhanHun is taking this Nexus. It's like he was trying to take it before, and it got knocked out by a Zergling drop. He has this one going. Okay, Mind Out. Base very close to Mind Out. Sacsri, kind of a similar thing that we're seeing here. Don't forget these middle bases, by the way, have 1,000 per patch and 3,000 per geyser, as opposed to 1.5 and 5. So not quite as valuable, right? So even though you see like Zerg has 2 of those and Protoss only has 1, it's not as much as the other bases. The mains and naturals are more important. So anyways, well, we finally have a big engage in the center. A very good spread of Zealots here. And he is kind of able to fight against the Lurkers and Dark Swarm. Very well done here from ZhanHun. Look at that. Surrounds just about everything. And you can see how the Archon is missing those shots there, right? Like, the splash damage you need to land on top of the actual animation of the Lurker to make them hit. So a single Archon attacking a single Lurker under Dark Storm isn't going to hit it. Now, runs back through these two. These two are actually getting some sick value. God, they end up killing a lot there. He does turn around and finally kill them off. And, of course, the Crackling's coming down. You've got to watch out for those. They have 2-2 upgrades. 3-3 is on the way. For Protoss, 3-2 upgrades. He is starting Plasma Shields as well. We don't have that +3 armor yet. I think he is going to want to get that. and Reavers making. So Reavers become, in the very late game, an incredibly important part of the Protoss army, and that's because Dark Swarm is so incredibly strong and Zerglings are so incredibly strong. And one of the only things that's going to be able to give you enough firepower under those Dark Swarms to hold on, other than Psy Storm, is the Reaver. So these Reavers are going to be absolutely crucial because 100% you're going to throw Dark Storm down here. It's going to negate cannons. The cannons will tank some damage, which is important. But yeah, look at that. Ooh, a Plague goes down. Plague, of course, very good against Reavers. That first Reaver gets taken down really quickly from just Zerglings and a Plague. Look at this. They're getting in on top of everything. Notice how he's sending small groups. Not everything at once, just 4 or 5 at once. And then it's like making all of these Scarabs shoot out to clear them out. Now, a flanking army comes up from ZhanHun. He has to save this base. If he loses this base, the game will probably be close to over. But it looks like he's going to be completely fine. Right, he loses a gateway, he loses 3 cannons and a Reaver. It's not the biggest deal. He clears a fair amount. You don't want to lose that High Templar like that, but oh well, it happens. But yeah, the Reavers are so important, guys, in this later part of the game. They are how you end up holding these fringe bases. And hopefully he can continue to do that. I really want to see, you know, him maybe think about taking this space, or maybe just denying it can be enough, right? Maybe it's too hard to take against the mass Zerg drops. But if he can maintain this, and he's got to get this Geyser, and maintain this, even if Sacsri gets this 1 extra base, generally the cost efficiency of Protoss will be high enough that they're going to be able to win that game, right? Like, there's always one race that generally has a more cost-efficient army. Now, there's exceptions to that rule everywhere that we can talk about in a minute, but look, this attack coming down gets Psy-Stormed all to hell. He blows up a lot of it, but there's quite a few lurkers with a very good spread. Down comes that Defiler as well. And yeah, some very, very good plagues. So, you know, I was mentioning, for instance, in this matchup, generally Protoss is much more cost-efficient than Zerg. The Defiler can help to change that towards Zerg, right? If you just grind out plagues and Dark Swarms and Lurker defenses. If you look at, like, TVP, Terran mech is more cost-efficient than the Protoss army, but carriers are actually more cost-efficient than mech in large numbers, right? Terran is generally more cost-efficient than Zerg, but Plague, Hydra, Lurker can be more cost-efficient. Things like that. So it does matter about that composition as well. Now, a big attack coming in from Sacsri. Dude, oh my god, there's so much splash damage in here, though. The damage output, though, of these Zerglings, Hydras, and Lurkers are doing fantastically, but eventually the Storms and Scarabs are chewing through everything. One thing I gotta say is this thing is perpetually out of Scarabs. I would like to see the Scarab capacity upgrade, and maybe even the Scarab damage upgrade as well. That's actually become a bit more trendy lately. Ooh, a big burrow there. Kills off a few High Templars. No Storms available right now. Yeah, it looks like just barely. He's like in 70 mana for all of these. That's really painful. That's like 6 High Templars. 2 of them already going down. Continuing to push forward here. This is a real problem for ZhanHun. Sacsri's push is incredibly deadly. If he had those 5-6 Psystorms, this would all be dead. Just seconds off on that. Some really interesting cannons, by the way. Never really seen that, but this is the same level as this, by the way, so it's not actually missing any shots. So that's actually very, very cute. But right now, he's lost a lot. He does have these additional Reavers coming out, and he is starting to pop quite a bit. Now, Sacsri is actually shifting his attack. It looks like he's getting ready to attack over here just as ZhanHun is cleaning this up. It's time for another attack over here, but there's only one Reaver. There's only one Reaver. Well, another one pops out. He starts the Scarabs immediately, but this is a very scary attack indeed. The Dark Swarms are going to make it so these cannons don't really support the Reavers very much, and then the Hydras can just run up and snipe things. A great Plague goes down. That's going to bring the health down of everything very, very low. Plague, incredibly strong. It's one of the strongest spells in the game. And when you look at it against Protoss, here's the problem. None of these heal. Protoss only gets shields back, and everything does full damage to shields. So honestly, like, I mean, as a Terran player, I hate Plague, but if you're a Protoss, it's like even worse. Look how quickly that Reaver died. A Reaver took like 3 hits. Oh man, 2 Reavers in this shuttle. Okay, we'll be able to get that one out. It is going to have to be sacrificed, though, unfortunately, shooting so slowly. Down goes a Psystorm. Does come up with the Reaver. So I think he's going to be able to hold this, and it seems like he's actually holding both bases. So ZhanHun, we have to hand it to him. Some incredible defense, right? That big attack into here seemed like it was just perfectly timed. Got in there before 6 Psystorms were ready. Then he attacks in here and drops in here, throws Dark Storms down everywhere, and still ZhanHun continues to hold this base. He might be able to end up mining this one out. The Reaver's doing a fantastic job continuing to produce those Reavers. He does have one Reaver in here. It's so important to have the Reavers all over the place because, you know, Sacsri is able to kill just about everything with the Plague Dark Swarm combo. Now, more Zerglings and Hydras going towards the bottom left. Looks like he's going to swing this attack once again. This time towards the bottom left. Sacsri just doing a great job alternating where he wants to go. Gets in here. Now, there's a lot of Psystorm. The Zods can tank quite a bit. He's running through these Psystorms. And, of course, the Reaver adding that damage as well. Oh, my God. 9 Queens! 9 Queens and a Greater Spire. Okay, first off, Greater Spire. Guardians are actually pretty legit against these Protoss armies, right? Psystorm does well against Guardians, but you do need 2 to kill one. And, like, everything else, it's like, what are you going to do? Make more Dragoons? Are you going to make Corsairs in the late game? No. No. And the Dragoons, of course, are so mangled by Defilers, it's, like, silly. So, like, I actually am a big fan of late game Guardians. I think they're fantastic. And then the Queens. It's the Broodling upgrade that he's going for. There it is. Broodling works on Zealots, Dragoons, and High Templars. Not on Reavers, not on Archons. But that is a great spell against those High Templars. That's specifically what he's going to be going after. And don't forget, right? Like, you have less and less Dragoons at this time, so it's hard to pick them off. You know, that could be a problem. Now, we could see feedback. Feedback's a great counter against that. So maybe we'll see some Dark Archons, but honestly, I think it's going to be a situation where he's surprised by the Queens, right? Like, you're not going to see the Queens until they're ready to cast their spells. I don't even know where did he put them? There he put them, right? So that is going to be 9 High Templars that go down in about a minute, right? In about a minute, he's going to have enough energy for that. Right now, Sacsri pushing again down here. Oh, going after the Templar Archives. Definitely something you're going to have to remake immediately. Low on gas, though. Still has decent gas in some of these geysers, so hopefully can fill that out. Double Psystorms going down to clear out that Lurker. Very annoying stuff. Oh, God, he's got to pull these back. Oh, makes an Archon. Well, that's not going to live very long. Good Psystorm. Definitely a very good Psystorm. If only he had one more for this. Oof. But ZhanHun, in the meantime, is pushing into 9. We are in an absolutely insane macro game right now. Look at this. He takes down that Lurker. He's fighting under this Dark Swarm right now. Plague's going off. Psystorm's going off. This is incredibly tough for both sides. They're actually at very similar supplies. Sacsri with a bit better bank. He has a lot more gas, although gas is not the more important thing for Zerg in this matchup. Like, in this matchup, Protoss needs gas and Zerg needs minerals. That's overly simplified, but that's kind of what you're looking towards, okay? And, well, I mean, with that gas, that's where the Greater Spire is going to come in. We see a lot of mutas being made. We see Queen energy coming in as well. So maybe utilizing some heavier spellcasters, utilizing additional Guardians. I think the Guardians, again, are going to be absolutely fantastic, especially against this type of base, where you have to shuttle in most everything that you're going to be utilizing. Now, look at that. Comes in with a Broodling and gets rid of a High Templar. We're going to see more and more of those now. I'm excited about that. Oh, here they come. Here they come. Might want to pick those up into shuttles. Oh, loses 2 more. Really fantastically done. I mean, as soon as you hit them, they're being pretty efficient. You know, the cost of these are 150, 100. High Templars are 50, 100, right? So, yeah, pretty good. You're happy to get rid of that much gas for Protoss. Now, here are the Guardians. Like I said, you need High Templars kind of to deal with them. They outrange cannons. They outrange Dragoons. They are kind of stupid, and they do slide, though. Have to throw that in there as a little caveat. So you might see some of them die to cannons, but if you micro them perfectly, they won't. Now, that is a lot of Guardians. ZhanHun desperately wants to hold this base. I don't think there's any way for him to hold it. Does get a nice Psystorm off there, but yeah, as the Guardians come in, there's just nothing here that can really fight against it. The double Reaver, I hope he can save the Reavers. That's kind of what I'm... Oh, that's funny. Oh, they can make it out. Actually didn't know that Scarabs could make out through there, but it makes sense. Look at this. He's targeting down the Reavers really quickly. Definitely wants to get those kills if he can. He gets one of them out. And as you can see, yeah, like they slide when they go to attack. So they slide into range of things quite often. The Guardians picking off quite a bit here. This base is going to be killed. Not necessarily the end of the game for ZhanHun. As I mentioned, even if you can just deny this from Zerg, it's probably going to be enough because of the cost efficiency for Protoss. But that being said, he's only mining here. We do have some more mining from Sacsri. I guess Sacsri's been pretty good as far as cost efficiency goes, right? Between Queens, these Guardians now, he's done a ton of Plagues, a ton of Dark Swarms. And ZhanHun is having a hard time. He is not near maxed out right now. 120 against 195. He's trying his best to make something happen here. You see some drops out of these High Templars to get Psystorms upon the Guardians. Ooh, that is a sick one. Kills like 5 of them. Well, that is one way to gain back that cost efficiency. That's for sure. Kills every single one of them. In fact, another Psystorm goes off there and will drag this Zergling down into the Photon Cannon. So beautifully, beautifully handled there from ZhanHun. But does he have shuttles to get in here and kill this off? By the way, we see 2 Dark Templars on the way. I do wonder if that is going to be for a Dark Archon. It could just be like he wants the cloaked units, but, you know, Overlords with speed just about everywhere because of drops. I'm not sure if he'll be able to do much with that. Now, 5 Dark Templars on the way. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to be doing with those. Again, the feedbacks are strong, and feedback is one of the better ways, I think, to deal with the Broodlings from Queens. Oh my god. Look at that. Okay. He makes it into an Archon, and so the mana was spent, but you can't Broodling an Archon. The High Templar disappeared, so he just loses the mana there. That was nice. And it is, in fact, going to be a Dark Archon. Moves up right now with his Zealots. They did get Plagued, so the Zerglings are favored here. That's an excellent Psystorm. Holy crap. Dude, insane, insane Psystorms. And it looks like he will be able to mostly save this stuff. Oh, God. When I see a Morphing Archon and there's all these units around and 2 Zerglings kill it, that is pain. And now more Broodlings come in. Crazy, crazy, crazy game right now. Uses a feedback finally. Well, too little, too late. The Zerglings on top of everything. ZhanHun still has a little bit of income here. Still has some supply. Sacsri really getting up there, man. He's played an efficient game without any doubt. 5K, 3K. And this is really, at this point, looking like it's going to be a Sacsri win. A great game from ZhanHun without any doubt. Yeah, I think that's going to be the end of this survival series. Team Zerg from Korea is going to be able to take this down. They got almost every single kill. We did have App get a kill on Saber, and we had Mihu get a kill on App. But that's about it. That's about it. Yeah, I guess other than that, it was Saber and Sacsri all the way. So really, really excellently done by our Korean Zerg team. But this game definitely the game of this series, I would say. An absolutely awesome killer Zerg versus Protoss. I think the Ultralisk was the only Zerg unit we did not end up seeing here. Mass Broodlings for the win. And now with the Mutas flying in, this is so funny because they're like 0-1, but GG, Team Zerg takes it down.